as Agilists, we're always focused on outcomes. And if you talk to anyone recently, and I know at least our lovely producers today would agree, because we were talking about this just before starting. People are, any experience today is valid, in the craziness of working from home. People are multitasking all the time, changing context all the time, completely burnt out. And let's face it, we wish we had a lot of time to dedicate to thinking and to just developing ideas, but we really don't. And so we need to use our time wisely and as productively as possible. So we need to focus on generating the correct outcomes. Imagine, for example, if we were a bank and we're so focused on fraud prevention that every time a user tries to use a card, we prompt them to sign in, introduce their PIN exactly at the checkout, and then sign in the back of a receipt. And people start looking at them weird because, well, that's not very normal. That would create friction. It would be a horrible customer experience. So maybe we actually excel at preventing fraud, but from the user point of view, that would be a horrific experience. So we really need to focus on what the customer values in the end. So from the perspective of working in a sorry, from the perspective of working in a company where we have to interact with many people in co-located environments, distributed all over the world, with people not only in different departments, but in different locations, and this is becoming crazy. So what to do about all of these boundaries that need to be transcended in order to get everyone together, get their minds together and their hands working on the actual correct outcome that will benefit the customer. Okay, so on to you, Scott.
Sorry, I muted myself. Yeah, I spent a lot of time with large organizations, and oops, someone's calling me.
Quiet. I mean, not a lot of questions. One person.
Oops.
Had some technical issues in Poland yesterday where a bunch of people.
Sorry. It's crazy just now being at home. That's a panic meeting that's happening that someone's just gotten up in the States. I couldn't have scheduled it better. So they're now trying to kind of get the UK line online before the India line goes down. And all our day is just call. Last night I had messages up until midnight. Again, it's where we are. So we need to get back to that focus. We need to get back to, no matter which kind of organization you're in, we need to get back to that focus. And what we really are focusing on is discovery, why we're doing what we're doing. And I go around large organizations and large IT departments, and I often ask the teams why they're doing what they're doing, and they don't often know, because someone asked, because the business said, because they've been told this is really important. So again, it's that whole disconnection in large organizations. Even when we're using frameworks like SAFe, and I'm a great fan of SAFe, and I do lots of teaching in it. Again, we come back to these questions. Why are we doing what we're doing? What is it we're doing in terms of priority? And then how are we delivering it as well we can? I think the Agile movement's been excellent at focusing on the how are we delivering it as well we can. But there is a gap and a silo between the product community, who are much more focused on the why, and the management community are focused on the what. I discovered Mobius when I was out in Vienna with Alistair Coburn. We were having a Heart of Agile retreat, and Gabby came along. I didn't know who Gabby was. And Gabby started telling us about Mobius, and when we got back, I looked into it. I looked at the people on the course, and I was really, really taken by two things. One, the simplicity and the completeness. Gabby's background, from working at Yahoo in places, has all been on the product side. Her husband, again, another marriage, he's more on the DevOps side. So I think this is a nice cycle. One thing I like about the loop is it's a quick experimentation learning technique. It's a series of canvases, just like the canvases we get on the product side from Roman, or we get or the business canvases. It's a series of canvases you can use like that to go around those questions And it's also got cards. So if anyone's seen anything that Ivar Jakobsen's doing around about essentializing Agile into cards, cards are quite fun. And these cards have the patterns on the back. So if you want to do something like targeting outcomes, you turn it over and it gives you hints on how to do that. And there's tons and tons of material here. And as well as the kind of the physical cards, there's online cards. And if you register in the community, you get access to all of this. The other thing I love about Mobius is Gabby's put it all into Creative Commons. So it's all available for free. So any set of canvases of that we can do for free is amazing. Money.
I think you are muted, Monica.
Sorry about that. Okay, so what is this Mobius look? It's a tool for innovation, really. So we're focusing on developing the product that will develop, that will deliver value for our customer as much as possible. So we want to understand why we're doing this, right? So that's our first question. And then from there, we are iterating on a series of possibly design thinking tools, because all this is a framework to get you from ideation, from this product discovery, all the way to agility in the end, and experimentation in the right track. So we start with why and who's doing this, why are we doing this? Then we focus on what outcomes are we looking for. And then we focus on options. So what kinds of things can we do to reach this goal? Then we focus on how we could possibly deliver these outcomes. And then we measure and learn, which is the crux of agility. So over to you.
Okay. Let's just split that down a little bit more. And again, we talked about the prompt cards, and I love the color coding in here as well. So the blue things are on the discovery side. The why, the statements about the why, the understanding of the why, actually doing some discovery and going out and understanding what's happening with motivations in people. Big part of the of what we're doing is trying to get the product management, product owner community really to understand those learnings, and then to be very clear on outcomes. Outcomes is the big message for 2022. So don't focus on so much on the backlog or the years worth of work you've got to do, but really focus on getting those outcomes. To get those outcomes, try and be divergent and generate as many ideas as possible. Be economically concerned on that to refine those. Pick what you can actually pull into a testing scenario. And really, we're in the green side. Create experiments. So think experiments all the time. Think what's your MVP. So this is really coming from the lean startup movement. Have measurements and work out how to measure it, and then review and learn. I love the term reflect. Again, from Heart of Agile. We have reflect and improve. Sometimes we just jump to improve without the reflect bit. And then the chameleon there, the pivot or persevere. I don't think we do that enough. I think certainly in a lot of places I go, there are projects that may have delivered some initial value, may have delivered any value, not any value, but the idea of pivoting away from it and thinking again is just seen as a bit of failure. Pivoting isn't failure. Pivoting is evolving. If anyone's following what's happening with the COVID vaccine, it's pivoting all the way. We've now got Delta Plus. It's always looking for better ways to do things. So pivot is an evolutionary success measure. It's not a failure.
Let's focus on discovering the why. So again, this is you could use lean. You could use design thinking for this section. So the beauty of this tool for me as a product coach or a product owner is that it marries design thinking with then the lean startup. So from discovering the customer wants and needs, which you do by obviously talking to people, as few people do, but ideally you'd like to be creating experiments from the very beginning. So you would be testing, learning, and then adapting from the very beginning to understand what it is that your customer feels. It starts with empathy, as anyone who's familiar with design thinking would know. And then we focus on what do we actually want to give the customer. So one example I'd like is, for example, if you were focusing on the most fun you could deliver for a group of kids, everyone in this room would probably have a different idea of what that was based on your experience and your own childhood and your own kids, possibly, or your own experience of what fun was. But if you're delivering for a particular group of kids or a family or a community, then they will have a very particular idea or notion of what fun is. So maybe all they want is really just a tire, hooked onto a tree, and that'll be the most fun possible for that particular kid. Or say a trampoline, not necessarily a huge play park or a humongous fair or fairground or something. So if we focus on what the customer actually needs and wants, we are sure to deliver them the value that they are seeking. So we then focus, of course, on challenges and enablers, because, well, there will be a series of considerations that we need to understand, and obviously in the process we learn. So we log the insights here, and then we move on to the next bit, which is the options app. So from there, we will have learned a lot from what our customers need and want. And we have a series of options. So this is not like a massive backlog. These are all options. So if you're working in an organization, normally there will be stakeholders everywhere, and they will all have their own opinions. So this is not about logging all the opinions and all the nice to haves that could possibly be brought into this backlog. This is about helping the team, and again, this could be across an organization. So the beauty of this is that busting those silos, you could actually have the people in sales, the people in marketing, the people who are actually in the delivery team. You could have people down the line in the aftermarket section of a company, and you could bring everyone here to understand how to actually work out how to best deliver value and understand what priorities we have.
That's the postman, Monica. I don't know if you're probably closer. Yeah, everyone wants this today. Interesting. Okay. Prioritization map. We've just done a few exercises, with this as well. And when you're looking at those options, one of the things, and one of the tools, and again, Mobius has got lots and lots of tools and lots of cards, and this is like a zoom in on one of the details. Rather than plotting a spreadsheet or something and putting a numeric value at it, sometimes it's much more powerful just to say, well, this idea we've got, where does it fit in? Is it easy to do, and does it have high impact? Yeah, so that's going to be up in that column there, so it's far more likely to do. So you've probably seen these before, but I mean, again, these templates are just, they're all available, they're all free. I think they're just amazing. Quite fun, actually, if you're sitting down with a bunch of ideas and things, just to plot that. You can also decompose ideas. So maybe there's a great idea, but it's down in the difficult bit, but maybe half of it is an easy thing to do first. So pull that forward. Being an Agile coach, I'm much more focused on the delivering cycle. And the reason I like this canvas is it's basically a Kanban board on what we're doing. So in the previous one, we've said, here's the experiment, here's the outcomes, here's the things that we think will make it deliver. We're gonna go and experiment, and then we're gonna see where we got to. We're gonna measure it, because the measurement is really, really important. And then we're going to decide whether or not we pivot or how we pivot. And again, having all these things documented, either on a big sheet, you can print these out at A0 and have them on the wall with post-it stickers, or if we're working remote, to do it remotely is great. One thing to draw your attention to, and Gabby's recently been doing this with a large bank of executives, and in the to-do column, it's what can we get done this week to achieve the outcomes. So it's not what's the big plan or what's the epic. It's what can we do this week? Yeah, here's a good idea. What can we do this week? And it's people literally walking away from the board to phone people, to instigate things, to research things and that. So it's really taking this short cycle and really just running it through on a weekly basis on ideas and getting the pivot and the feedback back, and then really fits into the idea of we find the best thing, we see if it's viable. If it is viable, we expand it. If it isn't viable, we pivot. So yeah, I mean, again, great learnings there. It's only a 20-minute talk, so we're just coming up to time. Kudos to Gabby, great friend of mine. I think we started talking weekly because I really want this idea to take off and I really want to promote it. Everything I've shown here is available free on Mobius Loop. I think that C-Suite really should get this and like it. I know that even when I'm using tools like Safe, I can go into the detail if I'm looking at the customer curiosity bit, and I can use these templates. So they are completely compatible with most methods. Gabby in this material, supported by Alistair Coburn, supported by Jeff Sutherland. Everyone loves it. I just wish more people knew about it. Trigger cards are available as well, and the trigger cards have got all the patterns. And I think sometimes these cards and a pack of cards with all the ideas and patterns is a little bit more exciting than a book